is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. As you can see, it is nighttime. So you know what that means. We're going to get into some horror stories because Halloween is around the corner and we want to get in the mood, okay? So we're going to get creepy and give ourselves some night terrors and, welcome all the ghosts and all that good stuff. No, we're not. We're really not going to do all that. But we are going to get in the mood for Halloween, okay? And yes, I am going to do 2 videos tonight. I will remind you guys in the other video because I don't want to hear none of y'all saying, you already wore that outfit. Yes, I know. I know I did. But I'm making 2 videos because I won't have time to make one tomorrow. And I want to be able to upload constantly for you guys. So I'm going to record when I have time, which is tonight. So we're going to go ahead and get right into this video. Please comment, like, subscribe if you aren't already, and share this with your family and your friends, okay? Thank you.
This happened to me years ago, while driving along the I-80 back to Denver after visiting my parents in Iowa. It was 1 a.m. when it started raining and I realized that I was almost out of gas. I had lost hope when I saw a sign for a gas station 5 miles ahead. But when I got there, I saw a creepy and dark place with car carcasses and rubbish everywhere. One of those old family-owned gas stations. I was scared, but I had no choice at that point. As I stopped, an old man came out running through the rain. I asked him to fill the tank, gave him my credit card, and I went to the restroom. I then go out and run towards the car, but the old man shouted at me to go back inside because my card had been denied. When I entered his office, the man walked towards me and gave me my card. He then grabbed my arm and put his head close to my ear and said, "I have to tell you something." I slapped him and I shouted, "Let me go! Get away from me!" And I ran out while the man was shouting at me to wait. I get in my car and I drive off, while the man is screaming and flailing his arms at me. I wasn't mad. I felt relieved because I was back on the road again. I turned on the radio and started to relax. When suddenly, I felt a spike on my side and I heard a voice that said, "Now, if you do what I tell you, nothing bad will happen to you." I looked in the rearview mirror and saw a man with a disfigured face in my back seat. I may seem tough, but I'm afraid of my own shadow. I couldn't speak, and I felt paralyzed. Literally. I couldn't move my arms, and the car started to skid. I then tried to countersteer. I tried to brake, but with a wet and slippery road, I ended up against an electric utility pole.
Oh my God.
I passed out. When I opened my eyes, there were highway patrol officers and medical personnel taking care of me. The man in the back seat was gone.
Wow.
I told the police about the disfigured man, and I realized at that moment that the old man at the gas station was trying to warn me. My car was destroyed that night, but I considered myself lucky. I couldn't imagine what could have happened to me if it had gone differently.
See, he was trying to help her.
When I was in my first year of college, I took a house-sitting job from my mom's best friend while he was on a monthly cruise. It was a kind of emergency because the girl who was house-sitting the place left the day before without notice. I saw it as a way to earn a few bucks, so I didn't mind spending a few nights in a large house with plenty of food, PlayStation, and cable TV.
Oh, shoot.
At sunset, I checked all the doors and windows, set the alarm, and called the landlord to assure him that everything was fine. Later that night, I was watching a movie when I heard a weird sound coming from the garden. I didn't care much because that house was like a fortress. I heard it again, so I paused the movie and went to check. But all I found was a bunch of cats fighting on the porch. When I went back to the living room, I saw the door that led upstairs had been opened. I had left that door closed, I was sure. I didn't want to trash the rest of the house only to have to clean it later. Then I heard that strange noise again, but now it was coming from inside the house. That scared me, so I started looking for my phone only to remember I had left it in the other room. Then I felt a presence behind me.
Oh.
I turned around quickly and saw a man holding a rope walking towards
Run or
me.
something?
Jumping in fear, I dropped my phone. I grabbed a pot from the table and I smashed it over the man's head. That gave me a few seconds, so I managed to run away into the next room and close the door behind me. The man quickly came around and started yelling and banging on the door. I shouted, "What do you want? Leave me alone!" He stopped and then said, "I'll be back for you."
Oh no.
I could hear my breath deeper and deeper. But then I realized that wasn't me I was hearing. I turned around and saw a girl tied to the radiator.
What the fuck?
I got closer. She opened her eyes slightly and tried to say something. We looked at each other for a few moments in silence. The banging started again, this time much louder than before. He was using something heavy. The iron window was shut electronically, but it was too small to get through anyway. I looked around, found a lighter, and I started to burn a piece of paper. I put the flame close to the smoke detector. The fire alarm went off. The banging stopped. After a few minutes, the firefighters arrived, and so did the police, medical assistants, and even local TV. The girl was in shock and didn't say a word.
Who is she?
She had been tied up in that room for 3 days. That man had been using the girl's phone to text her family and keep them quiet.
Oh my
But people
God.
started calling, so he had staged an unexpected and urgent journey the girl needed to take. They never caught that man to this day, and I haven't been much help identifying him either. That night, a large crowd gathered outside of the house. Who knows if between those people...
That is crazy.
I used to be a bookworm back in college, and I didn't go out that much. That's why a friend of mine signed me up to a dating website, even though I never liked the idea because you never know who you're gonna meet. When I signed in, I received dozens of messages in just a few minutes, but all the guys who'd shown interest in me were either too old or too creepy. However, there was one guy that caught my eye, so I replied to his messages. We talked for the next few weeks, and then he asked me out. He sounded interesting, and I agreed to meet him in a bar downtown. He seemed like a nice guy, but he was trying too hard to sound funny, and he never stopped talking.
I hate guys like
Anyway,
that.
I just wasn't into him, and 10 minutes later, I was already thinking of ways to leave early. The bartender noticed me, and he could tell I was bored.
You could just leave.
While my date was in the restroom, the bartender approached me and asked me if I was okay. I told him that I was on my first date, and I wasn't having much fun. He asked me if I wanted to leave with him, since his shift was almost over, so he could free me from this awkward date. I was tempted to say yes, but my date returned from the restroom. I gave a subtle headshake no to the guy, and I smiled. When my date sat back down at the table, he was noticeably agitated, and he started talking even faster. I was pretty sure that he took something while he was in the restroom. He then grabbed my arm and pulled me and tried to kiss me. I pushed him away. I grabbed my handbag and I stood up. The bartender quickly took my hand and pulled me away. I followed him behind the bar and we fled out the back door. We left and he said he was my savior and told me that I owed him one.
She got two creepy dudes.
When he pointed to his car, my mood changed. And I told him that I didn't even know his name. He smiled, said his name was John, and told me that if I didn't go with him, he would immediately call back the guy from the bar. I smiled and I followed him to his car. When we got there, we found two guys leaning on his car, and John started shouting at them to move away. One of the guys started approaching us, telling John to calm down, but he charged at them and started throwing punches out of nowhere.
What the hell, I
thought? What a shitty night. From bad to worse. I walked away while John was waving his arms, shouting at me to get back to him. I got out from another exit and I called a taxi that brought me home. The next day, as I was watching the evening news, I saw a story of a poor girl who had been beaten and killed in a parking lot behind the bar. The very bar that I was at the night before.
Oh my
They showed
god.
the picture of the perpetrator. And it was John, the bartender.
What the heck? How you gonna kill somebody at your place of employment?
I used to live in a pretty nice neighborhood. I had a lot of friends and I was happy, but everything was about to change. That day, I was at home with my parents. My father was fixing some shelves while my mother was cooking her special Italian lasagna. Richard, our new neighbor, who had just moved into the house opposite to ours, came over to introduce himself. He was a friendly and talkative person in his 50s. He said that he was working on some kind of insurance business and seemed like a really good man. When he left, he greeted us, waving his hand with a big smile, but I noticed something kind of strange in his eyes. Anyways, during the following days, I saw him on the street again and again. At first, I thought that it could have just been a series of coincidences. He is my neighbor after all. But then I started seeing him everywhere. And I kind of felt like he was following me. And as soon as he spotted my parents, he'd disappear. Then, one day, he kept asking about my social media accounts and then asked me if he could take a picture of me. I said no and I walked away, but he took some pictures of me with his cell phone anyway. I was confused and I really didn't understand. Why was that dude following me? And what did he want from me? That evening, I took my dad's telescope and I tried to look over to Richard's house to see what he was up to. What I saw shocked me. He was looking at my photos, and he had the entire wall full of pictures of little girls.
I think I get it.
That man wasn't just a weirdo. He was a sick person obsessed with little children. The next night, I heard some noise and I saw him rummaging in our trash can. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw him take my used tampon. That was just too much. I decided that the next day I had to tell my parents about him and get them to call the police. I tried to fall asleep. But the next day, I was awakened by the sound of police and people shouting. So I ran into the kitchen and I found the police arresting my parents.
Yep.
I screamed and I ran towards them, but
That
the
is so
neighbor
sad.
stopped me and said, "Wait, I'm sorry, but those people are not your real parents. These people kidnapped you when you were 3 years old. You have been missing for 14 years, and we finally found you." The DNA test confirmed everything.
That is so terrible. That is so sad. All right. Well, those were 4 pretty darn creepy stories. Man, that first one, he was trying to save her. And the way she reacted, I think it was a bit much. All he said was, I gotta tell you something." I don't think he should have grabbed her, but he could have just said, "Your card's really not declined. There's a guy in your backseat." Like, just out with it. Like, why are you stalling? But he was trying to save her. Luckily, she got away still, but that was pretty bad. That was pretty bad. And then, as far as the house sitting one goes, like, that sounded cool at first. She got this big place, got a PS4 going on, and free food, and but the fact that that guy's been in there, who knows how long he's been in there, got the girl captive, like, that is scary as hell. Like, she's also very lucky that she got away. She is very lucky. She was very smart too to know to burn the paper, and the fact that that fire alarm was in the room with her. She got lucky for that part. So I'm glad she got out. Now, the bartender, I'm not sure what was up with that. People usually don't kill people at their place of employment unless they got some, built up anger with someone or something like that. But how long has he been working there? Has he not had any other issues with anybody? He just that night decided to snap and kill somebody? Was she that good looking, and was he that mad that she walked off while he was beating up people? Like, what the heck? I wish they could have went into the backstory a little bit as to why he snapped that night and what the heck was up with the other dude that she was originally with. Like, you come out the bathroom acting weird and then you're trying to kiss me. Like, she just had a bad night, a real bad night. She must have been really good looking or something. I don't know, but that is crazy. In the last story, I kind of figured at a certain point that that's what was going on because that neighbor was a little bit weird. I guess he was just doing his job, but he was doing it a little weird, especially when you're trying to figure out if she's a kidnapped kid. Like, you can't, she's a teenage girl. You can't just be all trying to take pictures of her and stuff. That's weird. I think you could have handled it differently, but like I said, he was doing a job, so it is what it is. But yeah, those were definitely some creepy situations to be in. But that is all for this video. Leave me some comments on what you guys want me to watch and react to, and I will do my best to get those. Leave some likes, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next one.